The concept of time is quite possibly the most difficult idea to understand in philosophy. From a metaphysical standpoint, there is no easy theory to explain what time is or how we experience it. The Greeks, albeit in a general sense, viewed time as merely a conception of the mind which had no material basis in metaphysics. However, Plato did attempt to introduce a metaphysical understanding of time in a purely abstract form, but as of right now, I am not interested in going into that perusal just yet. That is for a later video. What I am here to talk about instead is Kierkegaard's understanding of time in his book, The Concept of Anxiety. At the core, this book is Kierkegaard's explanation as to why the human's rising of anxiety is brought about by uncertainties of human nature, which in many respects is due to our inability to distinguish time as a metaphysical reality from our personal experiences. Because we as humans interpret existence via our ontological occurrences, and this works in conjunction with our knowledge of information and how the world works, our perception of time is ultimately based on how we set up a metaphysics. And there's a deluge of different metaphysics regarding time. Take mathematicians, for example. The mathematicians affirm that time can be defined as being linear. However, there are problems with this assertion. For instance, it contradicts how time is experienced, and this is where Kierkegaard comes into play. Kierkegaard, in dissecting the problem of mapping time, explains this from his book, The Concept of Anxiety. If time is defined correctly as infinite succession, it may seem obvious that it should also be defined as present, past, and future. This distinction is, however, incorrect if considered as implicit in time itself, because the distinction arises only through the relation of time to eternity, and through eternity's reflection in time. If a foothold could be found in the infinite succession of time, that is, a present, which was the dividing point, then the division would be quite correct. However, precisely because every instant, as well as the sum of the instants, is a process, a passing by, no instant is a present, and in time there is accordingly neither a present nor a past nor a future. Thinking that this division can be upheld is due to an instance being spatialized, but this brings the infinite succession to a halt. It is through introducing representation, by allowing time to be represented instead of being thought. In other words, what Kierkegaard is saying is, how is one able to categorize the process of time when it would require its essence to be utterly stationary from the human's experience? And here lies the problem of time from a metaphysical foundation. Distinct moments in time can only be distinguished through human notation, not through experience. One has the ability to take a picture of a specific moment in time, but cannot ontologically freeze that moment in space, or travel back in time physically to relive that moment again in real time. And this is what Kierkegaard is getting at. In order for there to ontologically be a past, present, or future, outside of the realms of human constructions, time must, by its nature, be amendable. But, as Kierkegaard points out, the human's experience of time is always a passing by, meaning every second of one's life is, ironically, time past. I mean, think about it. Right now, the moment just passed, and now this one, it just passed, again and again and again. Every present moment is a passing by. Kierkegaard, quite prophetically, stated that time, then, is the infinite succession. I absolutely love Kierkegaard as a philosopher. He, more so than any other philosopher of his time, even more so than Nietzsche, was great at finding distinctions in thought and philosophy. And what he did here in the concept of anxiety is essentially show that there's a distinction between what time is when we say as humans, this is what it is, but we can only decipher that when we put it through words, or we write it on a page, or we show it through physical attributes that aren't actually reality. Because we cannot relive the actual past or future in any sort of way like we see in like movies or how they time travel, it's essentially an illusion. This is why I love Kierkegaard so much, and I would recommend everyone read his book, The Concept of Anxiety. It's a brilliant book, and even read his other works. This is a shorter video I thought about doing because I've always had this interpretation of time, but I never knew how to express it. But I'm glad I actually made it at this point, so thank you all for listening.